What do teachers and professors have to gain when they use AI? What risks do they have to manage? AI-powered education is next. Well, Casey and I are here today to talk about what happens when professors and teachers are really feeling pain and frustrated and not sure what to do when it comes to their learners using AI in the classroom and not the way they want them to use it. And especially when it comes, I think, to like English teachers and professors, if I think that's just the kind of the key, the people that we've been hearing from a bit lately. And we wanted to address that and just discuss some of the the fears and yet can we get past those fears? And I think one of the biggest things that we want to do really is just make sure that we try to build the future together because by listening to all those voices. So Casey, you had some comments that we discussed about like honoring the people's feelings first of all
Mhm.
and foremost.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that as a proponent of AI in education, I always need to take a step back from my goals, my objectives for why I want to try to incorporate AI, whether that's for me as the teacher or for my students to use it as a tutor or an assistant or whatever it might be. I have to remember that my colleagues and others who are teaching similar subject areas have reasoning and valid concerns for why they don't want to see it in there. And really, I just think that we owe it to them to really kind of figure out, yes, can AI have the potential to, erode critical thinking? 100%. Like we can be honest with that, right? We could say that certainly an over reliance on AI can take away somebody's ability to think critically, right? We could talk about how it causes, academic integrity, and I think that's what a lot of our colleagues are saying. Is it's like I'm sick of reading an AI generated paper. I'm so sick of it, and I relate to that. I've seen it in my classroom, and I am a person who talks openly about it, and I say that I know how to look for certain things, and I really pay attention to their writing to see how it develops and changes over time. And I get those top concerns that people have, and I think that you and I, we know them, and we still go
Yeah,
through it.
yeah.
We still want to
Well,
do something about it. So I don't know,
well,
is
I
yeah, go ahead.
I think that sometimes we get also lost in fear.
Mhm.
We're not sure. And again, we've talked about like, well, why do students often cheat? Because they don't know how to get, they don't know. They don't know the information for some reason, or they could be lazy, but I just really think
Mhm.
people overall want to do well, and they may not have quite that knowledge, and they're just like running any direction to try to find it. But again, we're as professors and teachers are the guides, like we're the
Mhm.
ones that can show the path to
Mhm.
like how to use AI responsible, how to use it responsibly, how to still because it really is us that are still critically thinking. The AI is more
Mhm.
like for drafts and for brainstorming and for some tutoring, but as professors and teachers, we still need to teach those critical thinking skills because AI is
Mhm.
not necessarily going to do that. It can tell us, but it's not going to go through that process necessarily with us.
Right, right. And that's I think the biggest distinction here is when we talk to our colleagues about why, what are their top list of cons for AI in their classroom? Like what do they really hate about it? What do they not like about it? And sort of seeing those concerns and maybe even kind of taking them one by one, because I think we talk so much about how to use AI and what to do and how to do this, that we don't necessarily go back to their top concerns. And so maybe if we think about that, as what do they think their students are losing, um, and we can combat it with like, here's what they can gain.
Right.
How do they, it's not just about time. Like I love it for time. I love it to help me save time because we're busy and we have so much to do, and I want to figure that out That's my number one thing. But I after working with, Kiowa last week, and hearing how he's using it in the workplace or to even get into the workplace, I just don't want our students to be at a disadvantage. I just don't. I want so much for them to have an upper hand because this is about equity. This is 100% about equity. And you can't tell me that there aren't students in, areas where they don't have to worry about money as much. They don't have to worry about their how they're going to pay for their books or how they're going to pay for their education in general. That those people are using AI, right? Like they are, and yet we have students who are hardworking, disciplined, and they're worried about how they're going to pay for their education. They're worried about how they're going to pay for their lives, and I just want to give them a good upper hand too. I don't know. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
going
well,
off on a
when
tangent
we
there,
talk
but
about no, but when we talk about it, also in a global perspective, we're not just in our own little bubbles anymore when it comes to careers and job market. I mean, so the other people around the globe, young people, are using these tools in many respects and are harnessing them and creating. And so just again, what can we best do at the local level? But let's remember that global perspective as well. And
mm-hmm.
again, I think too that teachers often feel like they're the very first thing I often hear is like, well, you have teachers anymore. They're just not going to, no, that's just not true. We need the human in the loop. We need the human care. We need all of those things. Now, at the same time, students and learners will say, there's not enough. I wait and wait for my teacher. I, I email my professor. They often don't get back to me for a long time. I need information right away.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
helpful in that respect. The teacher's
Right.
responsible. The teacher's still creating that legacy, creating that creative, and critical thinking and all that. But there's got to be something in the middle when everyone's waiting for help or waiting
Right.
to get enough.
And that's the thing, is finding that balance to say, and I tell my students this too. Just recently, we came to an end of a semester and I said, I warned you in the syllabus that this would happen. The coursework will bottleneck, in which there is one receiver of 25 essays. 25 people have been working super hard for the last 4 weeks to really develop this, and you have drafted things and you have done all of this preparation to get to your final version. In the meantime, have I been working on helping you individually along that way? Absolutely. But there's also stages that I cannot assess until you are done. There are just certain things that it doesn't pay for me to give you any feedback until you are ready for it. And so now we've got multiple assignments that I need to review, and you're sitting there waiting for an answer. You're waiting for the feedback. You're waiting for a grade. Sorry, but it's bottlenecked. It's a small spot where there's a lot of things that are trying to get through. And so in the meantime, what can we do to help those students get the sort of relief that they need for all of that academic buildup? It's almost like anticlimactic for them, right? They work so hard, so hard, so hard, and then they submit, and now they just sit and wait.
And one of the things we're supposed to do in education is make sure we give immediate feedback.
Right, which is really hard to do when you have so many.
But with
And sure,
AI,
AI is the balance, right? It is 100%.
right. And
So,
yeah, I just think that peer review, that working together with AI, as teachers and professors, embedding the AI in the assignment, take away, like there's nothing faster that'll, then young people will back away from something as soon as it's incorporated into what their assignment is, so
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
we're supposed to use AI, but why
yeah.
not write it together? Why not prompt together? Why not get feedback together? Not turn it in
Yep.
together. I know you've done that. We've talked about it here, but
Mm-hmm.
have AI as all, I think what Kaiwa talked about too, like co-creating.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. And I think I think those tools that are still being worked out, Brisk, we've talked about that on the show here, but that is one of the things that it wants Risk wants feedback. It wants to know how well it's working, right? And so it's up to us to give it a space to try to see if it can work. What could happen if maybe it doesn't do what you want? That happened to me, right? I created something, I didn't quite set the parameters, or actually the reverse. I said it so specific that students were getting kind of lost in it because they said, I feel like I have to say it exactly like this, or it won't let me move on to the next objective. And I'm like, so now I'm learning about that too. And I also am hearing the feedback from the students that they're getting frustrated with the tool because of, having to repeat themselves or find something else. But that, you can't tell me that's not critical thinking, or that's not them engaging in it. And then we have a conversation about how I programmed it, right? Like, what did I tell it to look for? What did I tell it to give comments on? How can I improve that so that way you don't get frustrated when you use it? And right. I don't know. I just think like that's good. That's the way that we can use it to help everybody see its transparency. It's definitely pushing me in my boundaries, and like, I'm not going to be a gatekeeper, right? I'm not going to be the person who keeps the information from the students who need to learn that. Out of what? Protecting like my degree, my status? I don't know. That's just silly to me. But I get why some teachers might feel that way too, is it's like, this is privileged information in here. I am the one who went to school for all of these years, and I learned all of this stuff. And students
and we honor that. I mean, we do honor that, but at the same time, like our focus are learners, right? And their success as well as ours. So like we started out talking about, like, we do honor the fact that people struggle. And that's why you and I do the show, because we want to talk about these issues. We want to share some tools. We want to dig into the pedagogy. But I really do feel that the more we talk about it, the better. But that we all do need to come together and build the future that we want. And it's teachers and professors' voices that need to be doing that. So speak up, and maybe that frustration, put it in the direction of like, I'm going to sit at that table and help make those decisions and get my learners on that table too. So thank you.
Don't bow out yet.
Yeah.
Stay in the conversation.
Yeah, stay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.